Shalom, family. How's everyone doing? All right, so again, happy Sabbath. Okay, happy Sabbath to everyone. And we're continuing with our Faithful Friday Sabbath class. Okay, and of course, if you've been listening to this series on the Book of Ecclesiastes, we're breaking it down precept upon precept and line upon line in order to give a good understanding, okay, of what it is we're reading. We can read it, doesn't mean necessarily we understand what we're reading, precept upon precept. And my job is to help you to better understand that so you can, as they say, get all the meat off the bones, okay? So let's continue in the book of Ecclesiastes, and we're going to begin at chapter 10 and verse 1. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 10 and verse 1, and it reads, Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth a stinking savor. So doth the little folly him that is in reputation for wisdom and honor. So it's letting us know that just as if you have dead flies, whether literally or just dead creatures, insects, if they're in some type of, ointment, even though that ointment is supposed to be used to, heal or smell good or things that may depend on what type of ointment you're applying or perfume, those dead flies are now going to cause that ointment in that situation to lose its value. Okay. It's not that the sin completely goes away, but there's some taint there. It's been tainted in some type of way or defiled in some type of way. Although there is some good aroma there, it's now there's some defilement there, some taint there, some stench there. And it's saying a similar situation happens to one who they're known for being wise. They handle many things with wisdom, but yet let it be a particular situation or a couple of situations where they didn't utilize the wisdom that they've been in honor and reputation for having, and instead they do something foolish. It can call that same stink or stain, on their name that can cause one to be significantly more offended, in them. And it's all the more we have to be careful in terms of what things we may involve ourselves in, especially if, and it doesn't mean you have to be like, oh, super scholarly wise, but just in terms of how you generally handle things, you want to make sure it's important to maintain that standard, okay? You may not personally believe yourself, or others may believe yourself to be excellent, but it doesn't mean you're bad just because you're not excellent. You may be known to handle things in a great way or even a good way, and if you fall below that standard, that can still cause offense. So it's important to maintain that standard all times and abound, okay? So that way you can always be esteemed in terms of honor. And it goes to show you how important honor is and your reputation is. But don't let it be something that you wear as a mask, but let it genuinely be who you are in terms of being that upstanding person in all those variety of ways that you represent. So verse 2, a wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart at his left. So someone who's wise, and it's like, wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart at his left. Why would it make that distinction between right and left? Because when we look at right, we're generally dealing with the right way of doing things. The righteous, someone who's wise, when they're your hands, what you do stuff with, you apply, you take action with your hands. So a wise man, he's going to look at before he does something. Am I doing it am I filtering it through righteousness? Am I doing this the way that the Most High God says I should be doing this or applying this? Or do I have to make an adjustment? Now, someone who's foolish, they're not going to have that consideration. They're going to go left, okay, because they're not off top trying to filter what they're doing through righteousness. Their mind and concern isn't in the same place. So they're more likely to cause some sort of offense or situation or put themselves in sin because they're not filtering, is this righteous? Is this the way the Most High God want me to go about this? So they're just more so leaning to their own understanding or friends or family members' understanding. Verse 3, yea, also, when he that is a fool walketh by the way, his wisdom faileth him. And he saith to everyone that he is a fool. So when you have someone that is foolish, when they're going down a path or direction in life, their wisdom it's going to fail them. And it's saying like their wisdom, because you're not using the Most High's wisdom, you're leaning on your own understanding, and that's not always going to hold up. There's a chance here and there it might do you right, but overall you're gonna have more problems and more struggles. And through those things, you're not processing those things through proper wisdom that the scriptures speak of in various books, and the Book of Ecclesiastes being one of them, a book of wisdom. So if you're not properly filtering those things through wisdom and righteousness, you're gonna have more problems, and eventually that's going to be known. People are going to be able to observe those things in your life and see, dang, that wasn't the right way to go about it, or that wasn't wise, that wasn't smart. You say that was a dumb decision. That wasn't a just or right or smart decision. So be aware of those things. And verse 4, it says, if the spirit of the ruler rise up against thee, leave not thy place, for yielding pacifieth great offenses. So that's the thing. If the spirit of the ruler, whoever that ruler or leader is, if their spirit, their mind, if they're in a place where you have caused some type of offense, they're offended in you in some type of way, don't be quick necessarily just to go out of their side, or I'm just gonna leave. I'm just gonna depart. It says nah. Don't always that isn't necessarily always what's most conducive to the situation, because it can make you appear more guilty. So, or make it really seem that the problem was bigger than it was, because it caused you to leave. Where it says, leave not thy place, for yielding pacifies great offenses. Sometimes even those great things, yielding and that taking the time to pause, slow down, or stop, in a sense, it can, put one in a place to be pardoned for certain things, or get more of that forgiveness. And sometimes it's even how you just execute. Me being in a place to where, hey, I decided, instead of me leaving, let me wait till after this function or this event, and then I'll pull, this person to the side and then have that conversation, make sure we're good, versus I leave, and then in leaving, you think you're doing yourself a good service. I'm just out of that environment, but yet and still, evil suspicions can actually grow more. Then like, man, I thought they'd go, why they leave that? Man, it's still early, and it just causes a bigger problem that could be drawn out, and what you thought would have resolved it, now it can go on for days, weeks, even months, unresolved. They're just growing, getting worse, when if you would have, stayed back, you could have, handled that, later on that day or that evening. So verse 5, it says, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceedeth from the ruler. So there's times you have it to where the evil or the core issue is not necessarily coming from the common person or people. It's coming from that leader, whether that leader be a president, governor, bishop, apostle, captain, deacon, whatsoever have you, regardless of the title, different levels of leadership, you can have a problem there, and that can cause more issues if it's left unresolved, because it's coming from someone who's sitting at an upper level. So now, and it says, verse 6, folly is set in great dignity. So you can have times, even with leaders, they can uplift things that are foolish and have those things seem as if they're dignified. And you can have that from various leaders or influencers, or artists who they uplift things that are foolish, things that are not conducive to wisdom or righteousness. So it says, folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place. So when it's making reference to rich, that's dealing with those that keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Those are the rich. Why are they rich? Because you have the Most High God's power on your side, and you're also in a place to where you're filled, or should be filled, with that spirit of the knowledge and understanding of the Most High God and His Holy Spirit, which makes you rich in abundance. Not necessarily in terms of you literally having always a monetary value being rich, but even with you being in a space to where you're righteous and you're doing what the Most High says you should be doing, yet you be sitting oftentimes in a low place. You don't have what it is that you should have per your performance given in righteousness. But yet and still, you have it to where, those who are not moving according to the way that they should, not moving according to righteousness, those are the ones that are oftentimes being put in places or positions of power or authority or being uplifted and getting some type of admiration or accolades or honor, or even financial gain more than those who are trying to do what's right according to the will of the Most High. So now reading on 7. It says, I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. So he's saying, look, even this, I've seen servants upon horses. Those servants are making reference to the Israelites. I've seen, I'm sorry, as I was. It's reverse. I've seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth, as I was. When it says I've seen servants upon horses, that's making reference to primarily the other nations, okay? That they're on horses, and that those horses being represented as a dignified position, usually a glorified position in a position of rulership or authority. But yet it says, and princes walking as servants upon the earth. Those princes, a prince is a ruler underneath their king. So when it says, I've seen princes walking as servants, those princes, those rulers underneath their king, is the Israelites. It's supposed to be ruling underneath the Most High God, and underneath his watch and his will and his government. So we're the ones who are in a place to where we're walking as servants, but not as servants. Oh, we're servants of the Most High God, but no, we're serving these other nations. They're the ones who have authority and rule over us. When the Most High, he didn't design that, that way. He designed it for us to have rule over them, but in righteousness. So not in wickedness, in righteousness. So verse 8, he that diggeth a pit shall fall into it. So it's like, who that diggeth a pit shall fall into it. And that even goes back to the saying when someone says, hey, if you dig a grave, you better dig two. You digging a grave for someone else, you better dig one for yourself, because you'll probably end up following along or going right down that same path, So you have to be mindful, be careful. So that's what it's saying, in that regard. He that diggeth the pit shall fall into it. While you are plotting on someone else's downfall, you'll be the one that more than likely ends up falling. So reading on in verse 8, and whoso breaketh an hedge, a serpent shall bite him. Okay, and that hedge is supposed to be a defense. It's supposed to be a defense or a shield, and it's used in different applications. In terms of a hedge, sometimes that hedge is leadership. Sometimes that hedge can be a representation of a father. Sometimes that hedge can be a representation of some type of barrier of a home, safety, comfort. And sometimes a hedge is that wisdom and knowledge and understanding. All those things are in terms of, the hedge. Even that hedge can be even in terms of, assets that one may have and then pass down as an inheritance. All those things can be aspects in terms of how, hedge can be. So whoso breaketh an hedge, a serpent shall bite him. So now to break those things or damage those things, you're actually in a place to where, and it says the serpent shall bite him, you're actually in a place to where if you're breaking, that defense, need that be literally, if you're in terms of harming, that person's head, father, leader, things of that nature, the serpent shall bite them. That isn't always literal, but in terms of when you deal with a serpent, you're dealing with a snake. It's a crafty creature that is sneaky, and you can also deal with deception, and being hurt in that regard. It's always going to come back to bite you. That's part of that saying too. Like, oh, if you move this way, it's always going to come back to bite you. It's going to come back to hurt you in some type of way because you're not moving the way that you should be moving. buy these things. So if someone has a defense, and you have to be like an actual home, an inheritance, something passed down, they have their home, and that's something you're looking to take advantage of and gain unto yourself in a way that isn't just or wise. It's going to come back to bite you, like companies do. They can look to get over on people and take their assets, their family assets or things of that nature, without any regard in terms of what will then happen to that family. They're looking at how they come up, and it happens from homes to even land, but yet and still it's going to come back to bite you, because you're doing it through, even if it's a legal way, you're jumping through certain legal loopholes, it's still a deceitful practice that you're still hurting people in the process, or conning them out of what it is that they have. So verse 9, it says, whoso removeth stones shall be hurt therewith, and he that cleaveth wood shall be endangered thereby. So, and it's still going into a similar aspect, but different perspective. It says, whoso removeth stones shall be hurt therewith, and he that cleaveth wood shall be endangered thereby. Dealing that with certain occupations, if you maintain these occupations, they can cause, there's a higher chance that you can become injured when you're doing certain jobs, that you're dealing with things of hazard. If you're dealing with stones, if my job is to move heavy stones and I'm working in an aspect of construction, there's always a chance I can trip over one of those stones, I can drop one of those stones, someone else can drop one of those stones, it can fall, or it can get knocked over. So it's just making that awareness. Same with him, and he that cleaveth wood shall be endangered thereby, because cleaving wood, lumberjack, things of that nature, there's a chance that either you or someone else can let go of that axe, and that axe can hurt you or someone else. So there's still a sense of danger or harm there that can come. Similar if certain lifestyles can come with danger, with how certain people live, and I'm sure you either have a friend or family member that what they choose to involve themselves in. There's a chance you can end up getting hurt, caught up, or getting into some trouble. Need it be legal trouble or just offenses with other people, or a combination of both, because of how you're moving and how you're dealing. So reading on verse 10, if the iron be blunt and he do not whet the edge, then must he put to more strength. But wisdom is profitable to direct. So it says, if the iron be blunt and he do not whet the edge. So why would it say whet the edge? Because it's understood when you have blades, especially swords and axes, you have to sharpen those things. And there's also oil that you apply to help preserve the sharpening and help preserve it from rusting as well. So, and even there are some styles of sharpening where you do apply oil and then, sharpen, but it depends on the type of blade and the technique that one is using. So that's why it's saying, if, as it says, if the iron be blunt and you do not whet the edge, because you also have a whetstone, used to sharpen, blades and things of that nature. So that's what is being known. If you don't sharpen it, then what's going to happen? Then must he put to more strength. You're going to have to put to more strength. You're going to have to apply more strength in order to properly cut whatever it is you're trying to cut. Doesn't matter if it's meat, doesn't matter if it's a tree. So you're going to have to apply more strength. It says, but wisdom is profitable to direct. So now, this is one of those things where the understanding is connected. I'm not dealing with two things that are totally different. I'm just using a metaphor similar to further explain what it is that I mean. So understanding that, just as if I'm trying to work as, let's just say, a lumberjack, I'm trying to chop down this tree, or even just in my backyard, I'm trying to chop down this tree. If the blade is dull, it's going to be not only is it going to be harder because I have to apply more strength, it's still going to take me longer to do. And for some, it's like, well, I'm already here, I might as well continue hacking at it. Eventually I'll get there. And many, I don't want to take the time, because then I have to stop what I'm doing and then go and sharpen this blade, when if I'm here, I can just knock it out. But that isn't always the wise thing, because then you fall into a place to where now all of a sudden the the process is significantly extended versus if I would have taken that time thinking that I would have dragged it out. If you just would have taken that time and sharpened the blade, it would have helped expedite the process. So in that 5 minutes to stop what you're doing and sharpen the blade and then come back and continuing to cut down the tree would have overall been the wiser, more effective choice for the overall work that you're trying to get done. So, and it's a similar situation with us in life. Certain situations we have where it's better to simply sharpen the blade and come back, you know. And it's no different like in the workforce. People thinking that, okay, if you're at work longer, more work will get done because you're here, when that's not necessarily true. People can be physically at work, but just go through the motions. They're no longer locked in or focused on the work. They're just simply going through the motions because they're burnt out and tired and applying minimal effort, usually just to make sure I don't get fired. Whereas they're finding out that even with like the work schedule, instead of the typical Monday through Friday 9 to 5 shift, if we have a Monday through Thursday and we just eliminate a day, people are more productive. They come back more refreshed because for most, the weekend, it flies by too fast. And I'm not able to, and even for many who don't necessarily observe the 7th-day Sabbath or a type of Sabbath, need to be on Saturday or Sunday, the weekend flies by too fast and I don't have enough time to generally do the things that I really need to do and take care of. Whereas with that extra day, even though it's just one, that's enough time for them to take care of their chores and have a good time to themselves, have a better work-life balance. So they're in a better situation. And that's part of, in the workforce overall, that's a better example of sharpening the blade. If you sharpen the blade, they'll be better versus, hey, just keep going. We'll get more work out of you. The same with you personally. You may have a list of things to do, and you're trying to get through it, and you believe, man, if I just keep going, I'll knock more out. Versus if I just take a pause or a break. Sometimes it's better to take that break. It doesn't have to be an hour. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes. Even if it's just 15 minutes, take that break to be refreshed. Take that sip of water. You know, it'll do you right. Good H2O. So take the sip of water. Because even with that, something just as simple as that, drinking some water. Because now, with all of this conversing I'm doing, all this talking and teaching, throat start getting dry. So instead of me up here, excuse me, yeah, as I'm trying to say, and you're getting that constantly because I don't want to break, as they say, break character or you know, pause. It's better, man, take that sip of water. Swish it around. My throat is refreshed now. Now I can more so focus on this next segment, and it's going to be more clear and crisp. And so more clear and crisp and less throat issues because I have a dry throat and me coughing, it's worth it. So just like with other things, it's better you take that break, take that time, get yourself together, then come back and come back stronger. You know, and that's the way it's supposed to be, and that's wisdom. That's why I said wisdom is profitable to direct. Wisdom is profitable to set what path or direction you'll go in, you know, with certain things, or how you should execute. Okay, because that's part of it too. And direct, all right, director, and the director, all right, I'm trying to see the direction we should go on, but I'm seeing, all right, how best to execute what should be done. You know, and even part of execution is also prioritization. You know, so planning, organizing, and then getting the work done. So that's everything wisdom is good for. So now, let's go ahead. Verse 11. It says, surely the serpent will bite without enchantment, and a babbler is no better. So just so we know, a serpent type of snake, it will bite without enchantment. So meaning you don't have to be a snake charmer. You don't have to put some type of spell or whatever it is on a snake for it to
be dangerous for it to cause harm. It has a nature, and that nature can be harmful. It's the same with a babbler. If you have someone, and this key is a babbler. With babble, you have in terms of confusion. That's where you get Babylon. Babylon, the city of confusion. But to babble, someone is talking, but yet and still, what they're saying, it can either be in space, it doesn't make any sense, or it just is that. It's just nonsense, or nonsensical. It's just you just going on about stuff that really isn't relevant, or that is just foolish. So the same thing, if that's you or your spirit, then you want to change that, because then that can be harmful, because then it can lead you to say things that are offensive. It can lead you to say the wrong things, the wrong thing at the wrong time. So learning that, okay, it's times that I have to learn to be quiet, times that I have to learn to listen, times that I learn to just sit back and observe, so and understand in that regard. Cool, not a problem. All right. So verse 12, it says, the words of a wise man's mouth are gracious. But there's a difference. It's not that words are just the issues. It's, hey, whether or not these things are just foolish, or, hey, it's some wisdom from this. You want to be in a place when you speak, there's more wisdom. Okay? Because like it said, that verse 12, the words of a wise man's mouth are gracious. For And unless you're dealing with foolish people, and even every now and then a foolish person can appreciate some wise words, but in general, wise words or man, it's more great. It's more pleasant to hear. It's more pleasant to hear long term. You can get used to hearing some things that are comical, but there gets a point where more of the comical, I gotta shut that off and hear things that are going to be more beneficial to my either my spiritual enlightenment, my physical enlightenment, my mental enlightenment, something that's going to be more stimulating, that's going to help me grow in some type of area. This person can help me get my body together, this person can help me get my mind together, this person can help me get my spirit together. That's what I'm more so trying to grow in one of those areas, and eventually I'll leave off for more of the nonsensical. So more people are generally like that. Otherwise, but the lips of a fool will swallow up himself. So, lips of a fool, you're going to consume yourself. You're going to, and in that, through consuming yourself, you're going to use up all of your time. And oftentimes that time that you have with someone else, because they're going to get tired of listening to you on the same foolishness. So you're going to have more of that. As it says, verse 13. Explain more so why. The beginning of the words of his mouth is foolishness, and the end of his talk is mischievous or mischievous madness. Okay, so at the end of the day, the beginning is same as the end. It was nonsensical from the beginning, nonsensical at the ending. And that's just someone that their whole conversation, their whole mindset is unproductive, it's unfruitful, it's foolishness, it's unwise, and that's just what they're all about. Some people are like that. It's just always like that, almost 24/7 with them, and you're not going to get too much of anything wise or have any sort of real stimulating conversations, because they're always on the foolishness that they're on. That's like it's like, you have TV at multiple channels. It's like that's what's playing on every channel, foolishness. It's like, all right, how often we gonna keep talking about this, or this types of things. And we're different people, it's different stuff, whether it's just always everything just money, 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 or just women, 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 or cars, 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 clothes, 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 jewelry, 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 vacation, 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 or there's always somebody they talking about, always talking about somebody, 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 somebody. You're tired of those things. So, and let's continue on verse 14. A fool also is full of words. A man cannot tell what shall be, but one shall be after him. Who can tell? Who can tell him? So it's like, that someone is full. They're always full. They always got something to say. Something to say about something. Something to say about everything. But yet and still, there's a lot in which they truly don't know or understand. But yet and still, they lack a lot of wisdom, but they seem to have the answer for everything, the understanding of everything. Yeah, see, this is what I would do if I was there. See, yeah, I would have done something different here. And it's like, man, you really don't know. You don't know. So you just talking to sound good, or talking to hear yourself talk. You don't want to be like that. So, and it also knows that a man cannot tell what shall be and what shall be after him. Who can tell him? So we don't know. We don't, as human beings, we lack the ability of foresight, true foresight, the ability to foresee the future, to know exactly what will happen and when it will happen. So many things we're always trying to guess. And if we can, we try to take an educated guess to try to figure out, well, this is more probable. So, but we're always guessing. So, and then verse 15, it says, the labor of the foolish wearieth every one of them, because he knoweth not how to go to the city. So the labor of the foolish, it said, the labor of the foolish wearieth every one of them, because he knoweth not how to go to the city. So why does it saying this? So it's the labor being the work or the works. It need to be, okay, I'm laboring like physical works, I'm doing like a job, but even just labor being work being actions being taken, the things you're in, those actions be the things you're doing, the things that you're doing. So things that you're doing in terms of the foolish, those that aren't moving according to wisdom, they're not doing things in a smart or sound way or a righteous way. That's all inclusive of them being foolish. So this is the work of the unwise. It tires them out, every one of them. Why? Because he knoweth not how to go to the city. So the know is being aware. I have to have an awareness. He isn't aware how to go to the city, how to act, out in the city, how to act out in public, how to act with others. So you end up putting yourself in a situation where you're tiring yourself, you're causing more issues for yourself, and you're having to work harder to try to do things or prove yourself, because you're causing more offenses. You're causing more problems than solutions. And now you're trying to figure out how to fix those problems and solutions. So it could be something just simple as a job interview. You're not aware in terms of how to talk to someone, how to even present yourself, from physical appearance to verbal. You're not aware, so you're causing more problems. And you're not aware in terms of, dang, why am I not able to be successful during these jobs and job interviews? And it's because, man, you don't know how to present yourself, how to talk, and how to dress properly for the occasion. So you're going to have more issues and more problems as a result. So, for example, and another example is you have it to where certain people, friends, family, who they don't know how to dress, they don't know how to act. They get out in public and they act a fool of themselves, and they become an embarrassment. Even many of us grew up with parents or grandparents that always say, hey, don't go nowhere embarrassing me. Act like you got some home training, act like you got some sense. This is what it's saying on the sense that they ain't got that sense. They ain't got that home training, or they act like they don't, even if they did. And it causes more problems and more issues. So 16, it says, woe to thee, O land, when thy king is a child, and thy princes eat in the morning. It says, woe to thee, O land, when thy king is supposed to be a ruler. But if that ruler is a child, then guess what you're going to have? You're going to have some issues. So you're going to have some problems. Why? Because that child will lack the knowledge and understanding and wisdom in order to lead properly. So off top. And then more so, they're going to be concerned about things that aren't necessarily conducive to the well-being of the kingdom. So you're going to have more of that. So now it says, woe to thee, meaning destruction to thee, O land, when thy king is a child, and thy princes eat in the morning. So your princes, again, supposed to be rulers underneath that king, and that's your leadership. Not necessarily always literal a prince, but just rulers underneath that king, the different rulers. You're dealing with the government, so type system. And if those subordinate leaders are in a place where they're concerned with partying, having fun, functioning in the morning or the daytime, then a lot of work is not going to get done. So during the daytime, So this is making reference to not only literal morning, like, okay, it's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock a.m., but also it's just daytime. It's still 1 or 2 o'clock, but you're not concerned with taking care of business. You're concerned with leisure and luxury, and then what's going to happen come night? Nothing got done. And many can rinse, wash, repeat that type of situation. And not everyone, just because it's nighttime, okay, now I'm going to lock in, I'm going to take care of work. No, oftentimes you're going to take an extended break, extended vacation. Things are still not going to get done. It's going to stay in that same perpetual state. So it says, woe to thee, O land, when thy king is a child and thy princes eat in the morning. So we learn from this, you want to have a ruler that doesn't have the mindset of a child. Even if it is someone that is a child because they are very young or they're under the age of 20, they're 19 or younger, and they're still in adolescent state. They're still in a childhood age numbers. They haven't yet reached adulthood. That if they are in that state, hopefully they've been groomed up, because you want to groom and teach your children how to lead. Not just all of a sudden, okay, now you're still grooming leaders, still grooming rulers. You're going to rule over this company, rule over this business. Okay, well, hopefully you spent the years teaching and grooming them so that when they do get it, they know how to operate, or teach them so that they have that mindset. Even if they are 16, 17, 18, they can still have a business mindset. They can still have a ruler mindset and think kingly or queenly, royally, nobly, and handle things appropriately with good grooming. So in understanding the importance of, do we have to do what it is we want to do, or taking care of business for business takes care of you, or taking care of things early, so then later on you can enjoy more of your day. So priorities. Verse 17, blessed art thou, land, when thy king is the son of nobles. So see, this is what we're dealing with. It's the mindset more than anything, more than just the physical age. So it's just dealing with normally the mindset of a child versus the mindset of an adult. But the key is understanding the mindset more than the physical. That's why it says, blessed art thou, land, when thy king is the son of nobles. Okay, what is a noble? A noble is usually someone, first and foremost, like think about people you think about nobility, things you think of. Many would think that, okay, these people are usually, they're not in a place of extreme poverty. Okay, so usually we think, well, we identify they middle class, if not rich, oftentimes. So there's a level of success they can have monetarily, monetary success. Another thing of nobility you think of is education. They're not just dumb. They're not, they say dumb as a bag of bricks. There's some knowledge and understanding that they have just in general, things of nobility. There's also, in terms of the places, how you carry yourself. That's a big part of nobility. How you carry, how you dress. You dress a certain way when you're noble, or things of that nature, when you're part of nobility. So there's a certain way you dress, certain way you speak, certain way you carry yourself. Those are more so the things that can make you noble. Any of you guys can become noble. You can groom yourself, your spouse, your children to become noble. So you do that by taking time to, these things, you're learning these things now, and teaching these things to your family and saying, okay, we have to set the standard. There's a standard, and we have to rise up to that standard. And you do it for everything, physical, mental, spiritual. Hey, these are the things that we're going to get together in terms of our mental health. These are the things we're going to get together in terms of our physical health. These are the things we're going to get together in terms of our spiritual health, so that we become as noble as possible. And we not only act in terms of respect, that's not really more so our focus, but we earn that respect. We almost demand that respect in terms of how we choose to conduct ourselves. And people will deal with you accordingly, just like they deal with foolish people. Foolish people act foolish. All right, I treat you because that's how you act that way. Results, okay, I gain more respect because you choose to present yourself this way. It's across the board. You choose, most of that you can choose to apply. So, and then over time, other things can come along. You can be in better situations. You can attract more nobility towards your way as you choose to become more noble. So people will recognize it. So now, reading on verse 17, it says, Blessed art thou, O land, when thy king is the son of nobles, and thy princes eat in due season for strength and not for drunkenness. So it says, your leaders, they eat and they get what they need in due season, but they're focused on more so what they need, a little bit they want, and not being consumed by everything it is that they want and they desire. Because then if they're so focused on the me in it, they're forgetting about the body and what the lot of the majority need, because they're consumed with self. So they have to take, okay, I have enough to sustain myself and my family. Now I need to think about what do you guys need? How do you guys need? And I can sometimes downgrade or make certain sacrifices for the betterment of others so that they're better taken care of. Those are the type of leaders that you want. 18, it says, listen to this, by much slothfulness the building decayeth, and through idleness of the hands the house droppeth through. This is very important. And this applies on all levels. If some of it's not only slothful, okay, but it says through much slothfulness. Because it's letting you know how these things happen. How does a house or a home or a business fall through? It deals because someone is being slothful. They're being slow, lackadaisical. They're not planning, organizing, and executing. They're doing a lot of rest, or they're doing a lot of procrastination. I'm continuing to overlook these things, not prioritize these things, so they're not getting done. So, because the reality is, if you don't show up, it ain't going to get done. If you don't show up, if you don't put your hand to the plow, you're never going to be able to reap what it is you're looking to reap, because you never took the time to sow it. And like the scriptures say, if you sow sparingly, you're going to reap sparingly. You sow abundantly, you're going to reap abundantly. Therefore, hey, it's a situation that what you put in is what you get out. You reap what you sow. So now it says, by much slothfulness the building decayeth. So if you have a home or apartment, whatever you have, that if you're not maintaining it, guess what's going to happen? It's going to fall through. It's going to decay. Things are going to fall out of place. If no one washes the dishes, the sink is going to continue to be filled with dirty dishes until it starts to develop an odor, starts to stink, and things start to mold. Bugs get attracted to that area. It gets worse until, guess what? Someone has to take the time to, hey, I'm going to wash this up. I'm going to clean this and put it in order. So that way it doesn't stink anymore. It doesn't have any more, issues or problems. So that's the same thing with, your home. You have to put your hands to the plow, and I got to clean it. Otherwise it's going to stay in that state. Like, even I tell my family, especially my children, hey, how long are you going to wait to do these things? So look at the example I teach you. If there's something needs to be done, I prioritize and expedite it. Let's hurry up and knock this out. Otherwise you have it to where we're just going over that today. Teaching that same thing. You have it. People do it all the time. Men, women. Well, ain't gonna clean the garage. I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna do it. Days go by, weeks go by, months go, still ain't done. When you gonna fix the sink? I'm gonna do it. And days go by, weeks go by, months go, still ain't did it. We do that with so many different things. That you have to make time and force yourself to discipline yourself to do it. Now I need to start and do this, or I need to make a time to begin and a time to end. That, hey, this is my week to focus on this. So we need to do that. Like I said, through idleness of the hands, the house droppeth through. You're idle. The idleness of the hands, you have them, they're there, but they're not actively engaged in doing the things that are needed to accomplish this task. So it's going to lead to a situation where, guess what's going to happen? It's going to fall through. So we don't want to do that. And that goes for your literal home, that goes for your business, and that even goes for the house of the Most High that you're building or that you're a part of. Things will fall through if you don't take time to get them done or knock them out. 19, verse 19, a feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things. So we have a couple things here. It says, first off, a feast is a celebration, a party, okay? This is a feast is made for laughter. So that's one of the things you want to be able to laugh and have a good time. Laughter, man, it refreshes you, refreshes the soul. It helps. It helps. Having those bonds with people, it helps refresh the soul. So you have that. You're having conversations with people. You're having pleasant conversations with people. A feast is made for that. We have many feasts given by the Most High. So now, and it reads on, and it says, and wine maketh merry. Wine is something that it makes you merry, makes you happy. It's there to make you happy. It's there so you can have a good time and enjoy yourself. You want to be able to have time to enjoy yourself. And that's something that also you can do on a feast. It's made for that. That should be a part of it. Now, but here's the other thing it's saying, but money answereth all things. So even with all that being said, another key is letting you know those things, because it's letting you know specifically, okay, these things, there's a time for this, and it's applicable for these things. But when you're looking at a broad spectrum, money is key to helping us resolve a lot of the issues and problems we are faced with in life. Money is a lot of times the root of the situation. Now, some may think another scripture, doesn't the scripture also say money is the root of all evil? Well, it says the love of money is the root of all evil. Love means, in that regard, there's a strong passion and yearning and desire for money. So the scriptures give you a balance. Yes, many things, money is the solution, but don't put yourself in the mindset and spirit that many do, that everything becomes about the money. You're always doing everything to chase the money. You're always making a number of sacrifices, all in the name of more money, when fight to get what you need with the fuel your wants. But don't chase the money so much to where now you put yourself in a place to where you're no longer being the husband or wife or parent that you need to be, because you're so consumed with the money and trying to get the bag. I gotta grind, I gotta hustle. Yeah, eventually you keep grinding, hustle, you're gonna grind away. So it's man, your job or the money's a tool, it's a resource. Yeah, use it, but don't abuse it. Because the Most High can send anything and cause all that money to vanish. So just like it's an easy thing for him to make a poor man rich, guess what? It's an easy thing for him to make a rich man poor. He shows you both what happened with Job. Job was rich, lost all his riches, and the Most High later, gave it back to him. You could be in that same situation on either side of it. You be poor and, all right, I got rich. Or the opposite, I was rich and then got poor. All Most High got to do is cause one thing to happen. Everything can domino from that one thing, depending on the situation. Whatever the investment or thing is, Most High, all right, let that stock crash. Let you lose your wallet. Let you get locked out of your computer or whatever it is. You just got to cause one thing that can domino everything else. Make everything. Let that get stolen. Let this get taken. And then will you be as successful? Let alone if multiple things happen that can cause it. So now, verse 20 says, curse not the king, no, not in thy thought, and curse not the rich in thy bedchamber. For a bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which hath wings shall tell the matter. So why is it saying this? It's saying be aware of the thing that you say, even behind closed doors. 2 reasons. One is you never know who's listening. even behind closed doors. You never know what's still recorded, what's still on. That could be the day you think you're just talking to them, but you didn't accidentally butt dial. And someone hadn't heard the whole conversation. It's the person you didn't want to hear the conversation. Or you so busy, you thinking things mice is good, and you live streaming and you saying things live. You didn't even know. You didn't accidentally went live on your phone or computer or camera, and you telling and saying things that you shouldn't be, or you would have desired not to have said, because now it's out there. So, and even then, there's even a spiritual side to it where, yeah, it's literally that can happen. You speak certain things, that wind can carry your voice, and someone can hear it. The wrong person can hear it. I had testimonies like that, boy, and hear your child on the wind. So yeah, your voice can carry on the wind. So it's more spiritual than physical. So haven't mastered the art, but guarantee it's possible. So I have personal testimonies. So even daughter getting a spanking in the bathroom, voice carried on the wind, and that being discovered, getting in trouble. So now let's continue. So we'll start chapter 11 and we'll get verse 1. So remember, curse not the king, no, not in thy thought, and curse not the rich in thy bedchamber. So, and that cursing isn't necessarily in terms of hex, but just in terms of misfortune, evil, things that nature, misspeaking in terms of, he just died and something he doing, or, just be mindful, okay, in terms of thinking negatively towards people or saying negative things toward people, okay. Just be very mindful, of that, especially if it's things that, even more so, the scripture say, if it's not true, you definitely shouldn't. Because now you want to be aware of being a talebearer or a murmurer as well. You can fall into those sins, and sometimes there could be a thin line. I say at times, a thin line between faith and foolishness. So you want to be aware of that as well, because then you can now be in a place where this is no longer conducive, or this is no longer edifying. If it's conducive, it's edifying, okay, then yeah, but it gets to the point that it's not. So just be mindful. And like it says, curse not the rich in thy bedchamber, for a bird of the air shall carry thy voice, and that which hath wings shall tell the matter. Okay, that's something, like I said, not just physical but literal too. That Most High, He'll allow your words to be heard on the wind. Even things you're saying now, and someone to hear you miles away. Hear your voice and words that you said quite clearly. Those things are true. So just be mindful of those things. Like I said, it may never happen to you personally, but just know it's possible. So it is very much so possible. So, and it can be in a situation you wouldn't want, or it could be a situation that, someone did hear me to help me, so, it can work either way. So let's get Ecclesiastes chapter 11, and let's read verse 1. So Ecclesiastes chapter 11 and verse 1, it says, cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days. Okay, so, and why would it say, it's going to go part of verse 2, give a portion to 7 and also to 8, for thou knowest not what evil shall be upon the earth. So now, this is dealing with in terms of, kind of like you're dealing with investing, cast thy bread upon the waters, because, something like, about water, like I said, for thou shalt find it after many days. It says, cast thy bread upon the waters. Bread, yeah, it could be literal bread, literal food. It could be money or things. And it said, after many days you shall find it. Well, let's look at it this way. You ever have it where some people, they toss coins, into water, things of that nature, that you still go back some days, it could still be in that water. It's like, oh, that coin I didn't drop down there is still there, you know. And it's given an aspect in terms of investing. It's good to invest, you know. And that's why I say in verse 2, give a portion to 7 and also to 8, for thou knowest not what evil shall be upon the earth. So, and it's also let you know in terms of, if I invest, even it's still dealing with that bread, you know, and it's really twofold. Because on one end, one perspective, if I cast my bread on the water, literal bread, some of it will get eaten and some can still remain. But on one end, if it's in the water, it's soggy, it's of no use. Now, if I divvy it out amongst other people, it could be of good use because they can use it to satisfy their soul and be fed. But then also, if I do that, it's a good deed that even if every single one can't, that they're going to remember that, and probably look out for me in the future because I looked out for them. But even if they can't, Most High will if you did it righteously. So it's shining light in that type of situation. If you invest that way, you'll be in a better place because you don't know what could possibly happen, and you might very well need help, and you may not have invested enough in the people where they will be at the ready to help you, and that does matter. Yeah, some people, you invest in them more, they'll be more at the ready to help you because they can look at all the good times, the good things you've done for them over the years and in their life. So it's like, man, so-and-so's in trouble. I want to help them. I want to help her. I want to help him because I know how many times they looked out for me. But versus if you never did that, or instead you just put your money in the bank account or you're just sitting there, when you could have helped someone in need, it's like, yeah, you got that extra couple thousand in the bank account, but you could have dropped a couple hundred to help out your brothers so that that time they needed groceries, that time they, they didn't have, they had to pay for their kids' schooling or to help, with their funeral for their loved one, and you helped out. That's a better investment, with your money because they can be there to help you out later. So that's a big part of what it's saying in a regard. Okay, so when you combine the understanding of those things, like I said, there's also an understanding that cast your bread, things of that nature have a value, and water you'll find it there after many days. It'll still be there. So like that coin tossed in the river, so you'll find it. It'll still be there. So it says, give a portion to 7 and also to 8. It's not what evil shall be upon the earth. So, but instead, if I get it out and I pass it to others, it's a better investment. It can come back, to help me. Verse 3, if the clouds be full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. And if the tree fall toward the south or toward the north, in a place where the tree falleth, there it shall be. So another thing in terms of, quite literally, if a tree falls, wherever it fell, generally that's what's going to be until somebody moves it, until some force acts upon it. So, and it's going somewhere with this when it's given that. 4, he that observeth the wind shall not sow, and he that regardeth the clouds shall not reap. So it's saying the same thing. If at the end of the day, you're like I say, if you got just your heads in the clouds, ain't nothing gonna get done. Or if you're just daydreaming, ain't nothing gonna get done. That you have to put forth action for change to happen. Kind of like what he was dealing with earlier. You have to actually make the choice to prioritize or just put forth effort for change to happen. It's not always a situation where, like, you hear people say things like, all right, time heals all wounds. It's not just time. Time is one of the factors, but it's also the application that you do during that time that's actually the biggest factor of that wound healing. It's not a situation where somebody stabbed me with a knife. All right, it'll heal. No, you got to bind it up. There's things you have to do in order to help that process. Otherwise, and even certain things, you can break a bone, and yeah, it might heal over time, but it ain't necessarily gonna heal right. You have to actually put it back in place. Otherwise, it can heal deformed or with the crook because you didn't heal it right. And some people have experienced that. I know somebody broke a bone, and even when they was a kid, parent loved them, didn't believe them, and then it healed, but it didn't heal right, and it's slightly crooked. You have situations like that. So, same thing. He that observeth the wind shall not sow, and he that regardeth the clouds shall not reap. So, if you spend too much time daydreaming or lollygagging, no work is going to get done. If no work is getting done, you can't reap the fruit of those labors. You're going to be in a place to where either way you're losing. I didn't put any work in, and I'm not going to get any reward if I don't put in work, and that's life, period. That's the same with righteousness. If you don't apply yourself to learn righteousness, become righteous, you're not going to reap the reward of the kingdom because you didn't put in the work. So you have to put in the work, put in the time. Same in terms of with other things. If you don't put in the work to build your children, your children aren't necessarily going to be what you would want them to be in terms of successful because you didn't put in that time. Either you teach them or put them in a place where someone else can teach them the things that either you don't know or lack or the things you don't want to teach them. But it's not just going to fall out the sky and happen. So they'll be a product of whatever it is you choose to surround them with. So if it's things that are productive, then they'll become more successful or more productive. If it's things nonsensical, then they're going to be focused on the foolishness or be foolish. So because that's what they've been surrounded with. So we'll leave off here. We're in chapter 11, and we might touch back on verse 3 and 4 again. But for sure, picking things up with verse 5, pray that you're able to get something, out of this evening's lesson, and encourage you to like, share, subscribe. You can even go to our website and give a donation if you like, so if it, ever falls upon your will to do so. But you can like, share, subscribe, to our videos and to our channel, so others be edified. Again, you don't have to be a member here, but just as long as you work to study and learn under someone, So with that, my brother Yatab, and with that I say, Shalom.